Ever get that, that feeling deep down, like when someone just seems off,
Yeah.
like something's not
It's
right?
like a sixth sense almost.
Totally. It's like that primal instinct,
Yeah.
just screaming, danger.
Yeah.
And, well, today we're diving into some real-life cases where those warning signs, those feelings were tragically ignored,
Yeah.
and the consequences. Devastating. We're talking about justice.
Oh, yeah.
Justice sought, justice delayed, and even sometimes justice questioned.
Mm-hmm.
Get ready, because we've got court statements and we've got legal analyses, even firsthand accounts that'll leave you wondering about, well, honestly, everyone around you.
You know what I think is so fascinating about these cases is they really expose that dark underbelly of what seem to be ordinary lives.
Right.
We're going to unravel the layers of deception, the manipulation, and really the truth behind those facades.
Exactly. And our first case, it goes right into the world of a family vlogger.
Oh, wow.
It's all turned upside down.
Oh,
Talking about Ruby Frank,
oh yeah.
the mommy blogger,
Mhm.
who, along with her business partner, Jody Hildebrandt, they were recently sentenced for horrific child abuse.
It's a stark reminder, I think, that, online personas can be illusions,
Right.
hiding a much more sinister reality.
Oh, yeah.
Frank and Hildebrandt, I mean, they built this whole brand, around parenting advice, life coaching.
Uh-huh.
But behind the screen, they subjected Franka's own children to just unimaginable cruelty.
Yeah, and it's hard to even fathom the details. Frank's children, they were starved.
Wow.
Some of them were found with duct tape,
Oh, my God.
binding their wrists and ankles.
Oh.
And they just suffered relentless emotional abuse.
Yeah.
One of her sons, he even managed to escape
Yeah.
from Hildebrandt's basement, ran to a neighbor's house begging for help. And that's when, everything just started to unravel.
It's amazing that he had the courage and the wherewithal to do that
Yeah.
at such a young age, too. What's disturbing, too, is the sentences they received. Despite how severe their crimes were, Frank and Hildebrandt, they were only sentenced to 4 to 60 years,
It's unbelievable.
capped at 30 years under Utah law.
Wow.
This leniency sparked a lot of outrage and really a debate about whether justice was served.
Totally. And what makes it even more complex, I think, is Ruby Franke's courtroom statement.
Yeah.
She claims she was brainwashed and manipulated by Hildebrandt.
Interesting.
But when you listen to her words, there's not a genuine apology to her children.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of deflects responsibility.
Well, it's a tactic that a lot of people who are trying to minimize their culpability, they use that. Frank paints herself as the victim, caught in the web of Hildebrandt's influence. But the question is, to what extent?
Right.
Was she a victim or was she an active participant?
Exactly. And speaking of Hildebrandt, her silence during the legal proceedings, I think, speaks volumes.
Oh, really?
She wouldn't participate in that pre-sentencing report. And then these jailhouse recordings came out, and she's claiming to be the victim.
Oh, my gosh.
And she's labeling the children as the perpetrators.
That's chilling.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unsettling. Her refusal to engage with the justice system and then to kind of twist that narrative
Right.
just suggests a complete lack of remorse and just an unwillingness to take any accountability for her actions.
Mm-hmm.
So we have these clashing perspectives. Ruby's parents, they wrote a letter pleading for leniency, claiming that their daughter was well brainwashed by Hildebrandt's kind of cult-like teachings.
Mm-hmm.
But the prosecutor argued that regardless of those outside influences, Franksell has to take responsibility for her actions.
Right.
So it really makes you wonder, can any ideology or belief system truly justify such horrific acts?
It's a tough question. While it is important to look at, all the factors that might have influenced Franke's behavior, ultimately actions have consequences.
Right.
And the prosecutor really had a strong argument for accountability. It's crucial that we don't allow claims of brainwashing to completely absolve people of their responsibility for
Right.
harming others.
Exactly. And then you have the legal side of things. Utah law, it says those consecutive sentences, like the ones that Frank and Hildebrandt got, they're capped at 30 years.
So that means...
So that means they could potentially serve only 40% of their sentences,
Wow.
which has sparked outrage
Yeah, I can see why.
from people who believe the punishment just doesn't fit the crime.
So this part of the case, this brings up a really interesting legal problem.
Right.
Capped sentences, they're designed to ensure that punishments are proportionate
Yeah.
to the crimes that are committed. So it's preventing judges from giving out really excessive sentences.
Right.
But in cases like Frank's, where the crimes are just heinous,
Yeah.
cap sentences can lead to outcomes that just don't feel just.
Yeah.
To the public,
Right.
this tension between the legal technicalities and then how society views justice really fuels the debate
Absolutely.
about this case.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Yeah.
So where does that leave us? Was Ruby truly brainwashed, or was she a willing participant in all of this abuse?
Yeah.
What message does this sentencing send to people who are seeking justice
Right.
for victims of child abuse? These are the unsettling questions that linger
Yeah.
as we go deeper
Mm-hmm.
into this really just harrowing case.
You know, I think this case underscores how important it is to be vigilant, especially with social media,
Right.
where those images and those narratives, they can obscure the truth.
Yeah.
And sometimes the most shocking stories are hidden in plain sight.
Speaking of hidden dangers,
Mm-hmm.
our next case takes us to Livingston, Texas, where the disappearance of 11-year-old Audrey Cunningham, it turned a regular morning into a total nightmare for her family.
It's a heartbreaking reminder that predators, they can be anywhere.
Right.
And sometimes they're disguised as people we trust.
Yeah.
It really highlights how vulnerable children are
Right.
and just how insidious predatory behavior can be.
Absolutely.
She just vanished without a trace while she was walking to her bus stop, a route that she took every single day.
Every day.
And then days later, her body was discovered and it was tied to a rock in the Trinity River.
It's a detail that speaks to the calculated cruelty of this crime.
Absolutely.
And the prime suspect, Don Stephen McDougal, this was someone that the family considered a friend.
Oh, wow.
He was living on their property
Oh my God.
at the time.
Wow.
But as investigators started looking into him, they found a really disturbing criminal history.
What did they find?
And it just painted a very different picture of
Yeah.
this guy.
So McDougal, he had prior convictions,
Yeah.
but not just any convictions. We're
Yeah.
talking he had a history of violence against others and a conviction for enticing a minor.
Yeah, I mean, those are red flags.
Huge red flag.
That should have been like, whoa, this is concerning.
Exactly. It makes you really worried about the level of access
Right.
he had
Yeah.
to Audrey. Yeah.
And the potential for predatory behavior.
And the affidavit lays out some pretty damning evidence.
Oh, really?
Cell phone data. It puts McDougal near Audrey around the time that she disappeared.
Okay.
And then investigators found a rope
Huh?
in McDougal's car, and it matched the rope used to tie Audrey's body.
It's just chilling when you think about all of it together.
It really is.
So not only that, we also have that disturbing text message exchange
Right.
between McDougal and Audrey's mother.
Between McDougal and her mother.
Yeah, these messages, they really show how McDougal was manipulating the situation,
Wow.
trying to, gain trust,
Right.
creating those opportunities to be alone with Audrey.
There's one text that's just, it makes me sick to my stomach.
Oh, really?
He texted Audrey's mom and said, "I'm your daughter's favorite person and she will not tell."
Oh, my God.
Like, what grown man says that?
Yeah, that is just, it's classic predator behavior.
Well-
It's manipulating, isolating their victim,
Right.
silencing them. So she couldn't even go to her own mother.
Exactly.
It's just infuriating and heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
And with that prior conviction for enticing a minor, was he grooming Audrey
Right.
all along?
Yeah, was this planned from the beginning?
Yeah.
We may never know for sure what was going through McDougal's mind.
Right.
But his past behavior and what he did leading up to her disappearance
Right.
really suggests a pattern.
Of predatory behavior.
Exactly.
Yeah. And sadly, this case, like so many others, leaves us with more questions than answers.
It does.
What was his relationship with the family?
Right.
What information did he say he had for investigators?
Mm-hmm.
Was this premeditated?
Right.
Or was it more impulsive? These unanswered questions just add to the family's pain and
Yeah.
frustration.
Absolutely. It's tragic because it's a reminder that evil can just exploit vulnerability
Right.
and shatter lives. And often, those left behind are grappling with the what ifs
Yeah.
and the search for closure that may never come.
Yeah. It's just never ending.
Right.
Our next stop on this deep dive takes us from a young life cut short to a cold case that's suddenly back in the headlines.
Okay.
We're going to Delphi, Indiana,
Okay.
where the 2017 murders of Liddy German and Abby Williams, they've captivated the nation for years.
This case, with that video footage
Right.
captured by Libby herself.
It's haunting.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's left investigators and everyone wondering what happened.
Desperate for answers.
Absolutely. And just when we thought the trail had gone cold,
Yeah.
Richard Allen was arrested,
Right.
and we had hope.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
finally,
Yeah, that's nice.
justice might be served.
But as with so many of these cases, it's not that straightforward.
No, not at all.
A new documentary has come out,
Oh, wow.
and it's really throwing a wrench in the whole thing.
Really?
Casting doubt on Allen's guilt
Okay.
and shifting the focus to another suspect, Ron Logan,
Who is that?
the deceased property owner.
Wow. That's like something out of a crime novel.
I know, right? So this documentary, it looks back at the evidence,
Yeah.
and it has testimony from Logan's ex-girlfriend, Connie Dillman.
Okay.
And her account of this guy
Yeah.
paints a really scary picture.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of Logan as a controlling,
Hey,
abusive man
wow.
who was capable of extreme violence.
So what did she say? What did she say he did?
She said that he was physically abusive,
Uh-huh.
forced her into intimacy,
Oh, wow.
and even attacked her with a wrench.
Oh, my gosh.
And get this.
Yeah.
She believes that the voice in the background of Libby's recording
You're kidding.
is Ron Logan.
Wow. So that chilling voice that everyone heard,
Yeah,
she's saying that's him.
she thinks so.
That's wow. So that makes you wonder if they overlooked him
Right.
in the beginning.
Maybe they dismissed him too quickly.
Right.
And it's a reminder that sometimes, even when we think we're close to the truth,
Yeah.
there might be crucial pieces missing.
And to make things even more complex, there are leaked text messages
From-
that were recovered from the crime scene.
Okay.
And while they're not related to Logan,
Okay.
they offer a disturbing look at the murders,
Really?
suggesting that Libby was actually targeted.
Oh, gosh.
These texts, combined with the other evidence,
Yeah.
have led the prosecutor to think that Richard Allen may not have acted alone.
So there could be more than one person involved.
Multiple perpetrators.
Wow, that just adds a whole other dimension.
I know, it's almost too much to process.
It is.
We have shifting suspicions, a tangled web of evidence,
Yeah.
and more questions than answers.
So was Richard Allen alone,
Right,
or was he part of something bigger?
right.
Did investigators miss clues about Ron Logan?
Yeah, I mean, it's a labyrinth
It
of
is.
theories and possibilities.
But one thing's for sure.
What's that?
This case is far from over.
I agree.
These new developments, they're unsettling, but they do offer some hope
Right.
that maybe, finally, the truth will come out and Libby and Abby will get justice.
The search for answers, the pursuit of justice. These themes run through so many of these cases,
They do.
but maybe none more so than the case that's captivated the world for almost 20 years.
Which one?
The disappearance of Madeleine McCann.
Oh, yeah.
It's just heartbreaking.
It is.
Madeleine McCann, a 3-year-old,
Yeah.
she vanished from her family's vacation apartment in Portugal.
Back in 2007.
2007, that's right.
And it's become a global obsession.
It really has.
I think because her parents have just been so determined
Right.
to find out what happened.
To find out what happened and bring those responsible to justice.
Exactly.
And in the middle of this mystery, we have Christian Bruckner,
Right.
convicted rapist, child sex offender,
Yeah.
named the prime suspect in 2020.
And his history.
It's chilling.
Yeah, it's chilling.
Crimes against women spanning all ages.
Yeah, from young to old.
It really
Yeah.
makes him a key person of interest.
When you look at his crimes, it's just a picture of a predator.
Someone who targeted people,
Yeah.
exploited their weaknesses.
Used violence, intimidation to keep them quiet.
His victims, 10 years old to 80 years old.
Wow, that is a huge range.
I know.
That shows just how depraved
Yeah.
the behavior was.
One of his alleged victims, Hazel Behan,
Yeah.
she bravely came forward
Good for her.
to share her story.
And what did she say?
She was attacked,
Oh, no.
bound, beaten, raped by a masked intruder who spoke German,
Wow.
and she identified Bruckner
As her attacker.
as her attacker.
So that really solidifies the suspicions about him.
And it's a testament to her strength,
Yeah.
to speak out.
To speak out against her abuser.
Yeah, it gives us insight into his methods
Right.
and really strengthens the case against him.
Yeah.
And there's this one detail that might seem small,
What is it?
but after Madeleine disappeared, Bruckner got dental work
Mm-hmm.
and had a birthmark removed.
Oh, wow.
And some think it was to change how he looked.
To avoid being identified.
Exactly, because he tried to change how he looked after another assault, too.
Oh, wow.
So it just seems like a pattern
That's
of wanting to avoid detection.
Yeah, like he was covering his tracks.
Right, exactly.
It adds another layer to this already complex case.
I know, and of course, Bruckner says he's innocent,
Okay.
says the evidence is made up,
Okay.
that the witnesses aren't reliable.
Mm-hmm.
But his history and the evidence linking him to Madeline
Right.
make it hard to just dismiss him.
Right. Like he's not just a scapegoat.
Exactly.
There's more to it.
And it's interesting because there are so many parallels with this case
Yeah.
and the JonBenet Ramsey case.
Right. Both of these cases have just captured public attention for years.
Right.
Both have mysteries, theories,
Yeah.
and the families are still looking for justice.
Right. And for anyone who doesn't know the JonBenet case, she was 6,
6 years old,
a beauty queen, found murdered
in her family's home,
in Boulder, Colorado,
back in 1996.
1996, and it's still unsolved.
Wow.
Still shrouded in mystery.
These types of cases, they really fascinate people,
Yeah.
especially when it involves children.
Yeah, they really tap into those deepest fears
Right.
about innocence being vulnerable and the idea that evil could be anywhere.
Yeah.
They make us question what justice even means when we
Yeah.
can't find the truth.
Exactly.
So will Bruckner be charged in Madeline's case?
Right.
Could his current trial for other crimes
Yeah.
lead to new breakthroughs?
Right. Will her family ever get the answers?
It's hard to know.
We just have to wait and see
Yeah.
if justice will prevail.
But what's amazing is how resilient the human spirit is.
Yeah.
That unwavering
To
determination.
find truth and justice.
Even when faced with unimaginable loss,
Yeah.
these cases challenge us.
To face hard truths.
Right.
To understand why people do what they do.
Yeah,
To never stop hoping for truth,
exactly.
even when it's hard to find.
Our last stop takes us back to 1995,
Okay.
to the murder of Selena Quintanilla, a Tejano music star.
Yeah.
And there's a new docuseries that's stirring up controversy
Really?
about her death.
What's the controversy?
They're giving a platform to her killer,
Oh, wow.
Yolanda Saldivar.
So Selena's murder, I mean, that was a huge deal
Yeah.
for the Latinx community.
It really
It
was.
left behind such a legacy,
Yeah,
a void that could never be filled.
absolutely.
So this new docuseries, it's trying to reframe the story,
Okay.
giving Yolanda Saldivar, Selena's former fan club president,
Right.
a chance to tell her side.
Yeah, but a lot of people see this as exploitative.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Giving a voice to the woman who took Selena from the world.
Right, and what's Yolanda saying?
Her story is definitely raising eyebrows.
How so?
She's claiming there are secrets
Oh,
that haven't been revealed,
Interesting.
trying to say that she was a friend and confidant,
Not the obsessed fan that
Yeah.
shot Selena.
trying to change the narrative.
Well, I think she's trying to change how people see her, especially because her parole hearing is coming up.
Exactly.
So she wants to look good to the public,
She's even alleging that Selena was having an affair
too.
with a plastic surgeon,
Oh, wow.
and that she, Yolanda, was covering it up to protect Selena's reputation.
Okay.
And she's blaming Selena's father,
Oh.
Abraham Quintanilla,
For what?
for being controlling and abusive,
Okay.
and saying that's why she bought a gun.
To protect herself.
Yeah, protection from him.
So she's trying to deflect blame,
Exactly.
cast doubt on the story that everyone knows,
Yeah, she's trying to make people uncertain.
to get sympathy from people who might believe her.
Yeah.
But people are pushing back against the docuseries.
Yeah, they are.
They see it as exploiting Selena's death.
And giving her killer a platform.
Right?
And they say the timing, a year before Yolanda's parole hearing,
Yeah.
it just seems too calculated
Like she's trying to get public support.
to get out of prison.
Right.
And I think the criticism is understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, giving a platform to a murderer,
In a case like this, it's sensitive.
it's really
It
sensitive.
feels wrong.
Yeah, and like we're betraying Selena's memory
Exactly.
and hurting her loved ones all over again.
Right. And people feel like Selena's story
Yeah.
should be about her talent,
Hmm.
her impact on the world,
Right.
not how her life was taken.
Exactly.
So it all comes down to, do we believe Yolanda?
Yeah. Do her secrets matter?
Or is this just her trying to rewrite history
Right.
and get out of jail?
That's for the viewers to decide.
It is.
But even though Yolanda's claims might make us see things differently,
Yeah.
it's important to remember that she's just trying to help herself.
Right. She's got her own agenda.
Yeah, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle.
It usually is.
Of all those relationships, motivations.
and the tragic consequences of obsession and betrayal.
That's what makes these deep dives so interesting, right?
They are.
We have to figure out what information is true,
Yeah.
why people do the things they do.
And it's not always easy. No, it's not.
Because real life is messy.
Yeah.
Things aren't always black and white.
Exactly.
There are gray areas.
We have to be okay with not knowing everything.
Yeah. Sometimes we just can't find all the answers.
Right, and that's what makes these deep dives so fascinating.
The journey,
Right.
the exploration of the unknown.
Exactly. It's not about finding a perfect solution.
Right.
It's about engaging with the complexity of real life. But as we listen to these stories and we form our own opinions,
What should we keep in mind?
what role does public opinion play in all of this?
That's a good question.
Can we really separate our own biases for the information we're given?
It's tough.
It is.
Because public opinion can be really powerful.
It can.
It shapes the narrative.
Right.
It can influence what happens in court.
Yeah.
It can even decide who we believe is guilty.
It's up to us to be aware of that,
Right.
to really think critically about what we're seeing and hearing.
And to try to understand these complex cases.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And if you want to learn more about these cases,
Yeah.
check out the links we've provided.
Keep the conversation going.
Right. And if you're fascinated by these deep dives.
Into the human mind,
Yeah.
the search for justice,
Yeah.
and the mysteries that never seem to go away.
Subscribe to The Deep Dive
Right.
for more of these stories.
For more captivating exploration.
Until next time, stay curious
Stay critical.
and stay informed. It's like, you think you know people,
Right.
but then
You don't.
you really don't.
It's that unsettling feeling
Yeah.
that things aren't what they seem.
Right. In these cases,
Yeah.
they all force us to face that.
That uncomfortable truth
Right.
head on.
Yeah, like, who do you believe?
Right.
What actually happened?
And how do we make sense of it all?
When you've got these different stories, different sides.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle
Yeah,
with missing pieces.
exactly.
And we're trying to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, like you have to use your own judgment.
And your own experiences.
Right.
To try to make sense of it all.
And that's what makes it so compelling.
Right.
But also so frustrating.
Yeah, because we want answers.
We want a clear answer.
Right, we want that certainty.
Yeah, and we're often left with more questions.
More questions than answers.
And that's where the real deep dive starts.
Yeah, in that uncertainty.
Right.
Where we have to really examine our own beliefs.
Yeah, you start to question everything.
You do.
Like you said, we can never really know
What happens behind closed doors?
what goes on in someone else's head.
Or their motivations.
Yeah, we have to be careful about judging too quickly.
Even when things seem obvious.
Like the Ruby Frank case.
Yeah, that's a good example.
It's easy to say she's the bad guy, a terrible mother.
Right.
But then you hear her parents.
Talking about brainwashing.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Was she a victim?
yeah, to what extent was she in control?
It's hard to know.
It is, and it makes you think.
You can't just take things at face value. Gotta consider the source, the motivation. Are they biased?
Especially nowadays.
Yeah, we're bombarded with
It's
information.
everywhere.
It's like you gotta be careful.
Be a smart consumer of information.
Exactly, and that's so important.
When we try to understand these crimes.
Like, why did McDougal target Audrey?
Right.
What made Bruckner do what he did?
What was Yolanda thinking?
Was she a true friend?
Or was it obsession?
Control.
We might never have those answers.
But we can try to understand.
And that helps us see the dark side.
Of human nature.
Right, the things people are capable of.
It's like peeling back layers.
Of an onion.
Each layer, we learn a little more.
But the core,
Yeah.
it's hard to reach.
It's elusive.
And that's what makes these deep dives so captivating.
The journey,
The exploration.
the unanswered questions.
It's not about finding a perfect answer
No, it's about embracing the messiness,
of real life.
the gray areas.
Recognizing that truth
Yeah,
can be complicated.
it's not always black and white. So here's something for our listeners to think about
As we go through these stories,
as we analyze the evidence.
and when we form our own opinions.
How much does public opinion really influence things?
Yeah, how much does it shape what we believe?
Can we separate our own thoughts from the information we get?
It's a tough question.
It's really hard.
Because public opinion, it has power.
It shapes the story.
It can influence courts.
It can even decide who we think is guilty.
So we have to be aware of that,
We have to think critically
about everything we hear and see.
and try to understand these complicated cases.
Exactly.
So if you want to learn more,
We got links for you.
Keep the conversation going.
Share your thoughts
And if you're enjoying these deep dives,
into the human mind,
the search for justice,
the mysteries we explore.
be sure to subscribe to The Deep Dive.
For more of these stories.
Stories that matter.
Until next time,
Stay curious
stay critical.
and stay informed.